These are all signposts. They're like prophetic signposts of what God is doing in the spirit realm. They're physical representations. That's what I see. It's really powerful, Hooman.
And she said, I want murals in Israel in support of the women of Iran. I want to show the world that we Jews are standing with those courageous women.
So God is speaking to people all over about his heart for global harvest and those biblical fulfillment, those prophetic fulfillments of bringing, you know, Jews and Arabs together.
The only country in the Middle East standing with the freedom fighting women of Iran is Israel.
Welcome to the Maggie B Show. I'm your host, Maggie Barato, and I'm passionate about hearing God's voice and seeing his spirit at work. If you want a deeper connection with God, then you are in the right place. Get ready for a fresh encounter as we fix our eyes to look at what God is doing. Hey everyone, I'm back with my good friend Hooman Khalili, who is zooming in from California. Welcome, Hooman, to the Maggie B Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, so here's what I want to do. I want to just introduce Hooman because I had him on back a couple months ago, and Hooman is an Iranian-born modern-day Mordecai who is championing the women of Iran, the modern-day Esthers, to rise into their God-given calling. And he's doing this through a really unique creation of these beautiful prophetic murals that are being displayed of all places on buildings throughout Israel. This is like
Yes.
such a unique calling. So, Human, why don't you just tell us again, why are you doing this?
Yeah, so we got to go back in time just a little bit. So, in September of 2022, there was a Kurdish Iranian woman named Mahsa Amini who was murdered, beaten to death for showing too much of her hair out of her hijab.
Right.
And as soon as this happened, all the women started taking off their hijabs, and the Western media wasn't covering it. Like
Yeah.
they wouldn't give. So at the time, there wasn't the war with Gaza, but 100% of our world news was Ukraine, and none of the world news was the Persian. So the
Wow.
Persians collectively in the US and Europe got together and said, we're going to use all of our social media and all of our talent and all of our artistry to be able to promote what's going on. So I helped birth a mural in San Francisco. That picture went viral. The vice mayor of Jerusalem saw it, and she said, I want murals in Israel in support of the women of Iran. I want to show the world that we Jews are standing with those courageous women.
Come on. Yeah.
So the first one was unveiled in January of 2023 in Jerusalem. The
Yeah.
second one was unveiled in January of 2023 in Nazareth. So it's like God's hand was already on this because Jerusalem has the largest Arab population in all of Israel, 250,000 Arabs. And
Yeah.
then, as you know, Nazareth is 80,000 Arabs, 70% Muslim, 30% Christian. So when all this was happening, two people called me prophetically. One, I think you know Carolyn Hyde.
Okay.
And do you know Carolyn?
No, I don't know her.
Oh, she's an amazing, amazing Messianic Jew in the Sea of Galilee area. I call her my Jewish mom.
Oh,
And the other is a guy named Daniel Lim. He was the president of International House of Prayer in Kansas City. And they both said, God told us to tell you 18.
18.
So I remember unveiling that first mural and then hearing 18 and saying, God, that is so many murals.
That's 17 more.
So I flew to Israel 17 times over 21 months, and I just unveiled the 18th mural. And I
This is the
unveiled it.
last one. You just unveiled the last one.
I did, but the government's wanting some other things, so I'm gonna do my best to do those. But yes, that first part of the mission,
Wow.
uh, there are other cities that have now come forth, said, "Wow, you hit 18. Can you look at our city? Can you look at our city?" So,
What
uh,
cities are asking you? Just curious.
well, yeah. So,
Can you say?
well, if it falls through, I don't want it to.
Okay.
But
Okay. No,
there are
what?
cities around Jerusalem. There's smaller
Okay.
cities around
Yeah, yeah.
Jerusalem. I unveiled my 17th mural in Eilat in the southern tip
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah.
Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you stand on the beach there, you can see Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt.
Come on.
All
I
three.
think
It's
this
really
I think this is for the women of the Middle East. Oh, maybe not just Iran, but here's the thing, Human. I was in Israel for a couple weeks while you were unveiling it, but we couldn't connect. So when,
right. Yeah. It's a 4.5 hour drive from
yeah.
Jerusalem.
So
So
tell me, where did you unveil it and tell us a little bit about that 18th.
the All right, let me tell you about the 17th, then I'll tell you about the 18th. The
Okay.
17th mural is at a really unique place called the Shelter Hostel, and it's the only mural in Israel that has New Testament Bible verses on it. Because all of the other ones have Old Testament Bible verses, because there's rules when I put up these murals. So
Okay.
this mural, the building is owned by a man named John Pax, and he is from the Netherlands, really amazing Christian man. I believe he's a citizen of Israel, and he has a hostel down in Eilat, and he just welcomes anyone who's lost or forgotten or just doesn't know what to do with their life. He just takes them all in. He has helped so many young Jewish boys and girls who have wanted to even commit suicide. He's just that amazing of a human being.
Um,
So that's the 17th mural. And then the 18th mural is at a place in Jerusalem. I'm sure you've been there called the First Station. And
okay.
this is a train station that was built by the Ottoman Empire in 1893. And
Train.
this train used to go all the way to like Damascus. It used to go to parts of Lebanon. It even went to like Egypt. It
Wow.
was all from this train station. And the train station obviously shut down in 1948, and it just sort of stayed abandoned until like 2010, 2011. And they now turn it into a place where there's all these cool shops and cafes and restaurants. And so it's interesting because they had all these pictures of like Buddhas and like different gods from around the world, and they just took those down after 3 years.
Whoa.
And Carolyn Hyde called the guy who ran it, and then I had the Ministry of Foreign Affairs get involved, and it just seemed like that's the place God wanted the 18th mural was at that train station that had all those inroads to all of those Arab countries.
Yeah. I just see this this is going to get bigger. It's
Yeah,
going to
so
get bigger. Yeah.
there
Wow.
is a
Very strategic, very prophetic. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. So each one of these murals cost me 10 grand, and I've been paying for it myself. I got a few people to donate, but not to cover the whole cost. So
Wow.
the next project the Israeli government is sort of wanting is in a park, and it's basically going to be 5 times the cost of the all the murals. So I got to figure out if God wants this to happen, it's going to take a miracle.
So listen, I want to back up. I want to hear about the 18th mural and I want to hear about what is it called? And are you able to bring it up?
Yeah,
Let
let
me bring it
me
up so I can see it because I
yeah,
can
yeah,
screen it all. Because I
absolutely. Give me just 1 second here because I gotta find it. Okay, so that is the 18th mural right there. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
I can see it, but could you maybe put it in full screen?
Yes. Give me 1 second. I gotta figure
Oh,
out how to do that. Let me see if this will work. Oops, hold on. That's about as big as it's letting me do it here.
that's all right. We'll play with it. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. This is the 18th mural. The Esters of the world are rising up. Oh my gosh. This is a
right.
global call. So tell me about this mural.
So where first the place is First Station. So these are the logos of First Station. All of the murals that support the women of Iran say woman, life, freedom on them. Okay. Now, these murals it's sort of a collage of the murals from around the world that I've done, but it's also murals that we've designed that never have seen the light of day.
Wow.
So, for example, this mural is in Nazareth, and what you have here is
Yeah.
Remember the president of Iran, Raisi?
Yes.
So this is his helicopter, and he killed 20,000 Iranians. And
Yeah.
here are all the women he killed for showing their hair, pulling down his helicopter with their hair.
Yeah. It's powerful.
And and in Tel Aviv, you had the finger of God. Here you have the fist of God intervening to take down the helicopter. And in the corner here, it's Jeremiah 49:38. I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her king and officials, declares the Lord. So this is a picture of God fulfilling that verse.
Yeah.
This is the mural in Nazareth. This mural was designed by a Persian Christian, painted by a Russian Jew, and the wall is owned by two Muslim men. This is the number 18 in Hebrew. Do you see it?
Yeah.
All
I
in
see it.
flowers.
Wow.
Um, and here, this is the mural that I designed for Hebron, and this is King Cyrus.
Wow.
And to his right is his castle, and to the left is Solomon's temple. And then in the dead center, you're probably wondering what this is. So before the 18th mural came up, for the last 3 months, people had been coming up to me and saying, what do you think of the Abraham Accords? Abraham Accord this, Abraham Accord. And I'm just like, I don't think about the Abraham Accords. I never think about the Abraham Accords.
Right.
And I talked to some Jews about it, and it's, a lot of people like it, a lot of people hate it. It's sort of a divisive thing. Obviously, the Americans like it. But I said, God, what do you want? Like, what are you saying to me with all of these reminders of the Abraham Accords?
Yeah.
And so I am often inspired by looking at stained glass windows and mosaics throughout the world. I look at all the pictures of all the dead people in Iran. I mean, there's a lot of things I look at. And I tried to find pictures of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. And the Greek Orthodox have a couple mosaics of that. And I tried to find pictures of Ishmael and Hagar, and there were some ancient Italian artists that wrote that. But nobody had a picture of Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, Ishmael, and Isaac with the angel of the Lord together. And I really felt like this is what God wanted. And so here in the center of this Woman Life Freedom mural, you have the father of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And he's in this picture, he's 105, Sarah's 95, Hagar's 40, Ishmael's 19, Isaac's 5, and the angel of the Lord. And when the angel of the Lord appeared to Hagar and she said, you are the God who sees me. I have now seen the one who sees me. She returns, and this is what the family would have looked like.
Wow.
And so, as God was speaking, I thought, okay, God, this is what you want. This is what you want at the center of the mural. This is the heartbeat of the mural.
Reconciliation.
Reconciliation. I'll just show you one other mural. Here you have Masa Amini.
Right.
But what is Masa Amini wearing? Here she's wearing blue and white to thank Israel. Here she's wearing gold because this is right outside of Jerusalem in a city called Mevaseret, the city of gold. But here she's wearing the flag of Geneva. And why is she wearing the flag of Geneva? I spoke at the United Nations on the steps of the United Nations in Geneva with the families whose kids were taken hostage by Hamas. And I went to people who are associated with the government of Switzerland and I said, hey, can we put a Masa Amini mural in Geneva? And they said no. And I said, why? And they said, off the record. So I guess it's now on the record. Switzerland has $50 billion of the Islamic regime's money. And they don't want to do anything to disturb that money. So
Wow.
here you have Masa Amini wearing the flag of Geneva, which is the imperial eagle in the key of St. Peter. In the background is the Valley of Judgment from the Bible. I think it's from the book of Joel.
Wow.
And this one never saw the light of day in Switzerland.
Wow.
So I'm going to stop sharing here.
Yeah. These are all signposts. They're like prophetic signposts of what God is doing in the spirit realm. They're physical representations. That's what I see. It's really powerful, Hooman.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really feel like each mural is inspired. This last one was incredibly complex. I mean, you've got so many themes, so many messages, but yeah, it's a very big statement, and it's once again showing the world that in the Middle East, there are still no murals in Afghanistan, Qatar, Lebanon, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. The only country in the Middle East standing with the freedom fighting women of Iran is Israel.
Wow. This is so it's so God because it's so ironic.
It
You know?
is. It
And
really is.
so tell me, what's motivating you, Hooman? What's motivating you to create these? Because these like what's the process? What's motivating you and what's the process for creating a product like this?
There were a lot of things that shifted in America in 2020, and I was very lost. I'd lost a lot of friends over politics, the vaccine, everything. Like people were just angry about everything. I mean, they're still angry about everything, but 2020, I felt they were angrier.
Okay.
And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And, when this assignment came, I really felt like, okay, this is a calling from the Lord. No matter how much it costs, no matter how lonely I am, no matter how much pain I have in my back from all these trips back and forth, I'm going to finish the assignment.
Wow.
And there were a lot of lonely nights, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of money, but so the motivation was God saying, "Who shall I send?" And me saying, "Send me. I'll do it. I'll
Wow.
do it. If this is my assignment, I'll do it." So that's the motivation is being a Christian, as you know, it's obviously not a walk in the park. And at times it's a beautiful thing that you got to go to Israel with 10 friends. I wish I could go to Israel with 10 friends, but
Yeah.
you know how difficult it is to get into Israel right now?
Yeah.
The other thing is, do you ever meet a rabbi named Avri Mizrahi?
It could be. We met several.
And did you meet Rick Riding?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah. I
both
actually had
of
a
these,
conversation with him. I'm actually going to be interviewing him.
oh, he's an amazing
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, he was instrumental. Him and Avri were both instrumental in these murals.
Wow.
And they both came to me because I was just with them in Dallas, Texas with Cindy Jacobs.
Yeah.
And they both came to me and said, Human, before this thing continues any longer, they both pulled me aside and said, nobody has this kind of favor with the government.
Yeah.
Nobody has this kind of blessings in Israel. And it is an absolute miracle that you crossed that finish line of 18 murals. It is a miracle. That's what they
It
said to me.
is. It's it is a miracle. 18 murals in what? 18 months? Was it?
No, 18 murals in 21 months.
In 21 months. Okay. Wow.
17 trips back and forth from
Yeah.
California. That's 15 hours each way.
Okay. And these murals are how big? Just so people are listening. Just give
Yeah,
me what's the biggest one?
yeah. The
Approximately.
biggest one was probably on the Museum of Tolerance. That one was probably like 25 meters long and about gosh, maybe 15 meters high.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big
And so
rectangle.
tell me the process. I want to know because I'm sure lots of people are wondering, like, how do you even start? Like, obviously, you get a vision of what you want to create, and what's the process for putting a mural together like that?
So what I do is I look at all of the people who have been murdered in Iran,
Wow.
and I read all the message boards and I learn who these people are. And I think about these people quite a bit. Then I start like looking at Bible verses. I think about the city that's going to be in. I have to really understand the city,
Wow.
what's in, because like for example, I have a mural in the city of Sfat. Now, most people don't know what Sfat is, but in Israel there are four holy cities. Jerusalem, obviously, is one, and the one of the others is Sfat. And Sfat is associated with wind. Jerusalem is associated with fire. They associate an element with
Right.
each of the four holy cities. Also, Sfat is the birthplace of the Kabbalah. So the Jews there are a bit different than the Jews in the rest of Israel.
Okay.
And because it's associated with wind, I wanted all the Bible verses on that mural to have to do with the wind of the Lord.
Wow.
I chose, this verse from Jeremiah 49 where, you know, uh, God says, I will use the four winds to scatter all the descendants of Elam to the four corners of Elam. And then I couldn't put a New Testament verse in there, so I used a verse, I used an image from Revelation 7. And Revelation 7:1 says, the four angels were holding back the four winds of the
Yeah.
earth.
Right.
So those are like sister verses,
Yeah.
Jeremiah 49, Revelation 7:1. And so I think about where it's going to be. I think about the sort of the people who have been murdered.
Yeah.
And I think about like what verse is appropriate based on those two things. And then once I sort of have that together, then I have to think about the background. And the background often has to do with the city it's in. I have a mural in Tel Aviv. Well, what's right next to Tel Aviv? Jaffa.
Right.
So when you think of Jaffa, what do you think about? You think about where Jonah ran away from God. That port is still there. That
Wow.
place where Jonah ran away from God is there.
Oh my.
And so
Yeah.
the background of the mural in Tel Aviv is that port, the point to Jonah and the whale. So I'm trying to listen, the relationship between the Persians and the Jews is biblical.
Yes, it
And if
is.
you point to the Bible as much as you can and remind people of that biblical relationship, then the mural is anointed.
Yeah.
And if I just do whatever and I don't put much thought and I don't research the verses and I don't pray over it, then it's not going to be an inspired mural.
Right.
So
I
that's sort of the process.
I love listening to the process because when a person says, "Oh, God, directed me or inspired me," because that a lot of us say that. But I love listening to the process because God does his part, but then Hooman, you do your part. And I love that because you really partner with God. It's God's idea. He's the one who's motivating, propelling, and bringing the favor and the anointing. But we still have a part in assignments. And your part is, like you said, you do the research. You are, putting your finances towards it. You're putting the gifts that God is giving you. And it really is about partnering with God. So I just really appreciate that. So what do you what do you feel your next step is? Because you've mission accomplished, 18 murals completed. What's the next step?
Right. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the next step, but I wanna show you one more thing. I want to show you the 17th mural so that you could really understand the process. Is that okay? Because
Yeah.
this will make it a lot clearer. Okay. So
Is it
this
seven?
mural here,
This is number
yeah,
7.
this is number 17. And like I said, this is the only mural that has the New Testament Bible verses in it. Okay, so can you see all that?
I can see it.
Okay. So these stained glass windows were drawn by an American Jewish doctor in the Bay Area. And so what you have here is when I think of Israel and I think of true biblical images, um, the one that really comes to mind is a menorah. And so here you have a menorah in the crown of Esther, a menorah within the crown.
Right.
And the biggest flame for the crown is a dove. And then it becomes the sword of the spirit, which turns into a key.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an image we created, and it's on this side too, so it's symmetrical. When you look at the earliest images of what Christians used to represent Christianity, especially at the Sea of Galilee, they used a peacock. Did you
Okay.
know this? So when you go to the churches of the Sea of Galilee, you'll see mosaics of a peacock.
Wow.
This is the flower of Israel. This is the Lion of Judah outside the Temple Mount, the flag of Jerusalem. This is the symbol of Elat right here. This is the pomegranate because the pomegranate
Yeah.
stands for life in both Iran and Israel. This is Azadi Tower, which is Freedom Tower in Iran. This is the water lily, the flower of Iran, and this is a stained glass window of Elat.
Wow.
Okay? You have woman, life, freedom here, and then you have woman, life, freedom in Farsi and Hebrew here.
Okay.
So you have it in both places. Now, who are these four women? This woman, this woman is a Persian Jew, Sahar, and she was killed by Hamas on October 7th. These three women were all blinded by the Islamic regime for showing their hair. Nilufar, Elahe, and Mercedes. I used the nightingale, which is mentioned in the book of Song of Solomon. I used the dove to cover her eye, which is throughout the Bible, and I used the eagle to cover her eye, which is throughout the Bible. So everything is artistic and biblical here.
Wow.
Because this is at the shelter hostel, I use this verse because this verse is at the heart of what they do. Do not forget to show hospitality, for by doing this, some have welcomed angels as guests without knowing it. That's Hebrews 13:2. That's a New Testament verse. I will bring upon Elam the four winds from the four corners of heaven, and I will scatter them all these directions. There will be no nation where the exiles of Elam will not come. And then Revelation 7:1. After all these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth. And here are the four angels holding back the four winds.
Wow.
So you can see how much effort and time like goes into each of these. I can't just throw it together. I have to pray over who do I,
Yeah.
a Persian Jew, and these are three different ethnicities within Iran. I can't remember where they're all from, but like I'm representing the Persian women
Yeah.
even outside of Iran.
Wow.
And then the background is Elat. And I put this verse here. This is the verse that really transformed my heart to the Jewish people. It's John 4:22, and it's Jesus talking to the woman at the well. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We Jews worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews.
Wow.
So now you can sort of see the process. You can see what I'm thinking about. You can see all the elements. So I'll stop sharing. All right. So to answer your other question, you said, what's next?
Hmm.
They found the exact location of where the Iranian embassy used to be in Tel Aviv in 1978. They knocked down that building and they have a park there. So I think I'm going to do something in that park, but it's like I said, it's a very costly thing and I'm just starting to design it now. So yeah, it's a very complex process, but I'm confident if God wants it to come together. I told Carolyn Hyde about it, and she was very moved. She was like, "Oh, you have to pull this off. You have to raise the money." So, as an artist, the only thing holding us back is money.
Right.
So if I can get the money, I can make the
Wow.
movie about the documentaries. I can create this project in the park, and I could do so much more.
And Hooman, I'm going to put a link so that those who are listening, the tagline for the Maggie B show is look what God is doing. Guys, look what God is doing. Look what he's doing. This is amazing. This is such a prophetic thing that Hooman is doing. And I believe it is, again, it is speaking to what's coming. And for those of you who don't know, God's really put the women of the Middle East in my heart over the last few years. And Hooman, I don't know if I've really shared a lot of that with you, but God started speaking to me about safe houses for women across the Middle East.
Wow.
And especially for the Muslim women. And, recently had gone to Jerusalem to release a prophetic act on releasing those who are trapped in the belly of the snake, which is the spirit of Islam. So God is speaking to people all over about his heart for global harvest and those biblical fulfillment, those prophetic fulfillments of bringing, Jews and Arabs together. That Isaiah 19 highway, restoration, reconciliation. So I'm going to make sure we put that link in the description, and a way that maybe a payment link, Hooman, where people can specifically donate towards the work of the Lord, because this is a big deal. This is a very big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I have that website, Hooman.tv, and on that website is a donation link. And, if you feel called, you feel led, obviously,
Yeah.
feel no pressure, but If you feel like, I'm doing God's work and you want to partner in that, I would love some help.
Yeah, so good. Mission accomplished on 18 murals. And now you are looking at what God is going to do next. Hooman, this has been so inspirational. I feel the Lord's anointing all over it. And I just want to come into agreement with the favor of the Lord upon you. And I believe the tent pegs are going to be enlarged. And if God
Amen.
gives the vision, we know that the provision is woven right in. You've already put your own dime towards this. You've been, monetarily sacrificing. And I just really want to come into an agreement right now with you, Hooman, for provision so that this will not be there won't be any striving in this, but that it will be a labor of love and that there will be such a rest in the provision that God brings. And even that God would bring a team alongside you to really, and I'm sure you have people now, but would bring a greater team of people alongside you to lighten the load. So,
Yes.
Hooman,
Yes.
I'm just want to give you just final thoughts on what is the impact that you're hoping to see with this, with even the
Yes.
18 murals.
So I see it. I see it every single time I do a mural. So every time I put up a mural, I get 100 messages saying, "You're a dead man. Hamas is going to kill
Oh,
you.
wow.
Hamas is outside of your house. This and that." So you get all the death threats. That's part of the gig. If you're obviously a timid person, like don't do something like this. Like just stay, and participate in your church and help locally wherever you can. So that's one thing. But the other impact is I get messages from all around the world. Often it's mostly Persian saying, "I used to hate Israel. I used to hate the Jews. Now that this mural is up, I love Israel. I love the Jewish people." And these murals actually fight anti-Semitism in a way that nothing else in the world seems to do.
No kidding.
So
No
because
kidding.
of that, I know that, and so this next project in Tel Aviv is going to actually create. I'm going to create a piece of art that's so incredible that it'll actually make people want to go to Israel just to view this piece of art.
Amen.
So that's the thing I want to do in the park. When
Wow.
I get to the point where I'm starting to make it, maybe we can do another interview and I can sort of fill you in on the details.
Sounds good, Hooman. Okay, everyone, this has been amazing, and we just know that God has big plans, and that there is a global harvest that God is unleashing in the Middle East, and Hooman, you're on the forefront of that. So thank you so much for sharing, and I will see you all on the next episode of the Maggie B Show. Thank you for listening to the Maggie B Show. Subscribe so you can tune into the next episode as we focus our eyes to look at what God is doing.